Man, going back to outside of working with the youth and going back to Red Oak Distribution. You talked about how you grew up, and you talk about the struggles of black brands and minority brands in the distribution field, or even just the alcohol field, because I've seen a lot of black brands come and go. And some they'll have one bottle, you don't see it nowhere else. How important was it for you guys to, create a system so that these brands can have multi-distribution and get in stores? Because I know that's a hard task.
It's pounding the pavement.
Okay.
I mean, you literally have to get out there. The brand itself has to be willing to put dollars into marketing.
Yes.
That's something that we look at, and we have discussions prior to bringing anyone on. Because my job as a distributor is to have the outlets to deliver your product.
Okay.
You've got to create the desire for that product.
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, a liquor store and a restaurant want to make money.
Correct.
And they don't want to do a whole lot to help promote it.
Okay.
And that's something that, I try to talk to different liquor stores when I go in there. It's like, a lot of them will say, well, it doesn't sell unless you do promos. Well, there's some challenges that brands have, is that you're in the store, you do a promo, you tell the people or show the people where your brand is located, you come in the next day, it's somewhere totally different. It's in an obscure place.
Right.
In the store. You don't have real estate. You go to the average liquor store, they've got everyone to fill with brands that are already household names. They're not allowing the smaller brands or the minority brand to have that visibility. And the biggest thing about it is that we continue to acknowledge that Black America is the largest consumer on the planet.
Wow.
Yet we have struggling quality Black-owned products, and it's not just limited to the tobacco and liquor industry. It's relatable across the board.
Where do we, how important is it for, businesses to have distribution when it comes to, distribution of the product when it comes down to that?
From the spirit, you can't get in a state. You can't sell direct to a retailer. If you don't have a distributor, only ones that are required are controlled states.
Okay.
And they're ran by the state.
Okay.
And sometimes they can be kind of difficult to get in.
Okay.
If you're a fresh brand. They have to believe in your marketing and what you are offering the state. And so a lot of times they'll give you an opportunity a lot faster than a state with a distributor. They have a totally different financial setup of how the resources and your price points and all of those type of things are different. So you've got to understand that from a brand perspective as well.
Okay.
And that's some of the things that we get some brands that don't understand. They haven't done enough homework per state that you're going in to understand that you might sell for, say, just $29.99 in Georgia, but the market in Tennessee says you got to sell it for $23.99.
Correct.
So
correct.
you've got to do your checks and balances to where you might make enough profit to subsidize maybe not as much in another state and things like that. So it has a lot of varying nuances to it.
So I mean, starting a liquor brand or a spirit brand, I mean, it might cost you a gang of money before you make your first dollar. Like, you got to have a real plan, because you can't just jump out there. Like, I know my granddaddy, he could make that liquor, and then, back those Sundays gone, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the game is changing and evolving to where, these brands are actual brands now. And
most people don't realize, if you create a spirit brand, how many parts before you actually see it. Once you get your license federally through the TTB, you before you even do that, you've got to find a distiller that does contract distillery, meaning they produce something other than their own product for people. Then you got to develop it. Then you got to get your license. Then you got to figure out what type of bottle you want to have. Then you got to decide on your label. Then your label has to get approved by the federal government as well.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Then you've got to make sure you have a bottle because you're looking at shipping costs. So the heavier the bottle is, the more your shipping costs. So you've got to weigh all of those things when you're deciding. And then in a lot of cases, if you buy the wrong bottle and it's not in high enough supply, you may end up having to change your bottle. Because a bottle, I mean, that's how Myles Select did. We had 2 different bottles than what we started out with.
Right.
You know, so that was because the bottle was no longer available to us. Oddly enough, 6 months after we had using a new bottle, then our old bottle came back into it. So we weren't going backwards again. But you know, you have to pivot and be prepared. And those things can, you know, have a very financial impact. And believe it or not, the spirit industry is as lucrative as it is. It's harder to get financing because it's also a volatile market as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But oddly enough, it was considered an essential product during the pandemic.
Yes.
Grocery stores and liquor stores was open.
Grocery stores and liquor stores are open, and that's a fact. How can a spirit brand you know, get in contact with you that want, you know, what's the steps they need to take?
I mean, well, we have a website, Red Oaks Distribution, ga.net.
Okay.
But before you do that, I would tell you to do all of your due diligence.
Okay.
If you don't do your due diligence, then we also have a consulting firm that will be happy to consult you in setting that up. But,
correct.
Other than that, Red Oaks Distribution is a distributor and not a consulting company.
Okay.
So we'll give you a little bit of information, but when you contact a distributor, then you should be ready. Your bottles are ready to ship. You've done your due diligence. You've registered with the state of Georgia. You've done all of those type of things on your own, because that's the checklist that we're going to ask you.
Okay.
You know, what makes your brand unique? What's your story? You know, how do you plan to market it? Are you in any other markets at this time? Those type of things. But you'll be surprised, we get people who literally are bootlegging. We're like, how did you even get that packaged? You know, they don't have approved labels and things like that. I mean, I've had brands contact us looking for distribution who didn't even know what the TTB was. No Department of Revenue, no tax IDs, none of that. They just thought that, hey, I put this together, I want it in stores.
Wow. Man, we definitely gonna have to come back. We definitely gonna have to talk about this, you know, the business owner, the mentoring, business owner, community impact, distribution. You guys stay tuned. Regi Myles, Myles Select Vodka, Jerome Renee Premium Cigars, Red Oak Distribution, Game Changers Magazine, Game Changers Media Network, Voice of the Village Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Stay tuned for part 2. Ease up.